Moving to Colorado can be quite overwhelming, but in this video, I'm going to be here to help you out, kind of narrow down the areas that I think you should consider moving to. Let's get started. Hi there, this is Christy Lee here, and I am a local real estate agent in the state of Colorado, but more importantly, I am a native. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you about the top 5 areas I think you should consider if you're planning on moving to Colorado. Now, actually, these areas came directly from people just like you reaching out to me, wanting to know more about these particular areas, which just got me thinking, maybe these are the most popular areas because all of you guys keep on wanting to know more about them. So let's just jump right in. The first area is going to be Broomfield. Now, Broomfield is going to be located roughly 25 minutes or so northwest of Denver, and it's roughly about the same amount of time, 15-20 minutes from Boulder. So the main reason people are wanting to move to this area is specifically for its location. The location is prime, whether you work in Denver or Boulder. I mean, it's if you want to go up to the mountains, you're right there off of 36. That's going to get you into, I-70, head up to the mountains. If you're a weekend warrior, you like to ski, camp, whatever it might be, Broomfield is going to be awesome. Now, Broomfield is 33 square miles, and so it is going to be quite a bit larger than really any other areas I'm going to be mentioning. And that's one thing I will say that, in my opinion, is a little bit of a drawback, depending on what you're looking for. It is so spread out. I feel like you just keep on driving and you really don't see the end of Broomfield because it just keeps on going. And one thing I don't personally like about Broomfield is that it doesn't have really that downtown area. So if you're somebody who is looking for that downtown area, that really tight community feel, honestly, you're not going to find it in Broomfield. But for those people who want all of the big box stuff, the Costco's, the Walmarts, the mall, things like that, Broomfield is really where you want to be because that's really what Broomfield is. It's just very spread out, very, a lot of shopping, a lot of restaurants, a lot of things going on, but none of that really tight-knit kind of feel. The average house price point in Broomfield right now is going to be roughly about $700,000. Now, you can get something definitely less than that, and well over $1 million in Broomfield too. So it really depends on what you're looking for. But for $700,000, you're going to be probably in the 90s, early 2000s type of home, roughly 200 square feet or 2,000 square feet. And that's kind of what you're looking for. That is going to be Broomfield. Now, Broomfield is going to be located in 3 different school districts. So if you have kiddos, that's something to note. You're going to be in either Broomfield. They have its own school district as well. They have Boulder Valley School District, which is actually ranked, according to niche.com, number 1 in the state, which is awesome. You are going to be in Adams 12 5-star as well. So that's the top 3 that are going to be in this area. So again, depending on which area of Broomfield you live in, is going to depend on which school district. Now, Colorado, you can open enroll. So if there's a school district that you really like, but you like this house over here, you could absolutely do that in Colorado, which makes that really, really, appealing for a lot of people. The population in Broomfield is 75,000 people. So it is pretty dense. It does have a lot of people in this particular area, but a lot of people love it here. You're going to have a lot of parks, a lot of trail systems in this area. There is just a lot of going on in Broomfield. So that is why I am considering it one of the best of the 5 places to move to. All right, so number 2 on my list is going to be Parker. And Parker is actually on the complete opposite side of Denver. You are roughly about 25 minutes southeast of Denver. So it's going to be quite a bit different down in that area. Definitely farther from the mountains, more plains kind of feel, I suppose. One thing I do like about Parker, though, is that it kind of has these rolling hills and a lot of pinery. So even though you're not in the mountains, you kind of feel like you are just because there's a lot of pines, a lot of deer actually out there too. But you are going to be definitely east of Denver. It is going to be 22 square miles, so it's going to be smaller, and the population out there is going to be 64,000 people. So it is going to be a little bit smaller, a little bit more condensed. I love Parker. I really, really do. There is a lot to offer out in Parker. I personally would live in Parker all day long if my husband would let me. It's just a really cool, it has a downtown area, has, you know, a whole main street that has like festivals and cool boutiques, cool restaurants, you know, things like that. There is a rec center right there on Main Street, which is really cool, where they're gonna they freeze out the there's like a little pond thing, and ice skating during the winter time. You have performing arts out there too. There's a whole performing arts center out in Parker. If you're somebody who likes horses and you want a horse property, Parker's where you want to be as well, because there's a lot of Christian, I can't say it, horse properties, horse properties out there too, a lot of land areas. So you could definitely move out there. I really like it. You are going to have 900 acres of open space, parks, trails. There's just a lot going on out there. Douglas County is going to be the school district out there, which is actually, last time I checked, according to niche.com, was number 2 in the state. So just behind Boulder Valley. So there's really, really great schools out in Parker. I really like that area. There's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of rolling hills. The average price point right now in Parker is going to be about $650-ish. But again, less and more depending on where you are. There is a lot of growth on Parker. So if you're somebody who really wants that new build home, you're actually going to be able to get a great price point house that's brand new in Parker. And I would say you could probably get one right around the low 600s right now, because it's just growing like crazy, and new builds are just more affordable right now. They really are, than the existing homes, just because builders are offering incentives like crazy. So Parker is going to be a great area if you want to do that. Now, one thing, like I said, it is going to be farther from the mountains. It is farther from like I-25, well, parts of it anyway. So getting into Denver is going to be a little bit longer, I should say. But one cool thing about Parker is that you are super close to Castle Rock as well, within 15-20 minutes. So you could go up to Castle Rock and hang out, or maybe you work out in Castle Rock as well. So I do find that Parker is going to be a great location for somebody who wants to be a little bit farther east. Maybe you work the airport or something like that. It's going to be a great location out there. All right, so number 3 on the list is going to be Highlands Ranch. Now, Highlands Ranch is going to be directly south of Denver, roughly about 30 minutes or so. And it's one of the very first master plan communities in Colorado. And actually, it's so large that it no longer is just a community, it actually is a city. So Highlands Ranch is well known. It's huge down there. It is 24 square miles, and they have just over 100,000 people who live there. So it is a big, big area out there. And there's so many great reasons out there. So you're going to have Roxborough National Park out there, which is super cool. Gorgeous, huge red rocks that people are walking through. You could go hiking through there. You have Chatfield Reservoir, which is really close too. So if you like boating, fishing, camping, all of that good stuff, it's going to be in Highlands Ranch, or at least really close to Highlands Ranch. That's why people move out there. You're going to have 4 full-scale rec centers out there as well, which is amazing. I mean, they're going to need it. They have so many people out there as well. And then the average price point for Highlands Ranch is going to be roughly $750,000. So it is going to be, you know, roughly the same as Broomfield and Parker, maybe just a little bit more. But you are also paying for Highlands Ranch. You are going to be closer to the mountains. You ride off of C470. So you are going to be closer to the mountains. You're just kind of paying for that name, you know. People just love being and living in Highlands Ranch just because it's just very well known. But for $750,000, you're going to get something, like I said, probably in the 90s, early 2000s. That's essentially when they started making this development anyways. I actually remember it. back in the 90s when it started. So those houses are going to be roughly 750,000, well into the millions as well. There's some amazing communities out in Highlands Ranch, plenty of parks, plenty of trails, plenty of that. There's 2 golf courses out there as well. It's just a really great place to live, and people really want to be there, but it is a little bit more expensive than Parker. I would say it's more comparable to Broomfield for sure. And the size of it too is going to be comparable to Broomfield. It's just the opposite side of Denver. So that's Highlands Ranch is going to be on the south side. One thing I do like about it is that you're really close to Park Meadows Mall, which Park Meadows is in Lone Tree technically. But Highlands Ranch is very close to that. So that is one of the biggest malls that we have here. And I personally love that one so much. There's just a lot of great shopping, great restaurants, just IKEA's over there. So there's just a lot of things going on that's really close to Highlands Ranch. Highlands Ranch is also in Douglas County Schools. So I just talked about that earlier with Parker. So it's in a great school district. Again, you can open enroll anywhere, but Douglas County is amazing. And then you are super close to those mountains, so you could get up to the mountains really at any time right off of C-47. So number 4 is one of my personal favorites, mainly because I live there, and it's called Erie. So Erie is going to be just north of Denver, roughly about 25 minutes or so. And it's going to be one of the fastest growing communities that we have out here. I mean, it is booming like crazy. Erie used to be this small podunk town, and now we actually have, our name on the map, which is amazing. So Erie is going to be roughly 19 square miles, and we have about 33,000 people here, and that has increased immensely over the last 10 years. So we are very small town feel for sure, even though we're growing. So we have our little Main Street area where we have a few breweries, really cool restaurants, but that is actually where we have all of our festivities as well. So we're going to have farmers markets and Christmas parades and Gravy Biscuit Day and, just things like that. There's something going on all the time. And then we have a nice skating rink as well, just like Parker. We have our rec center too, which a lot of activities go on in that rec center as far as, there's rock climbing, basketball, gym, all of that good stuff. That's right there too. But what's so great about Erie is that it still tries to capture that small town feel. So even though it's growing and there's new builds all over the place, literally all over the place, it still has a small town feel. We have the hot air balloons that go off every single day throughout the summer. There's just a lot of really great things out here. If you want the views, if you want a place with views, honestly, Erie is where it's at, because literally no matter where you go, you're going to see something. You're going to see the views. It is really close to Lafayette, Louisville. You get into Boulder within about 25 minutes. So we do have really close to a lot of other things. Now, one thing I will say about Erie is that because it is so small, we don't have any of those big box things. We don't have the Target, the Costco's, anything like that. But all of those, stores or amenities or whatever, those are going to be within 15 minutes away, 10, 15 minutes. So you really do have all of those available to you at any given time. We just don't have them actually in our little town limits. We do have other things though. We have disc golf, Erie disc golf. We have Erie single track. We have Colorado National Golf Course out here. We actually have a municipal golf airport, Erie Airport out here. So there's things like that bring people in. But it's small, and that's why we personally love it. Now, the average home price right now in Erie is going to be roughly about $750,000. So it's going to be right around everything else. But you can get new builds out here. Right now, honestly, you could probably get a brand new home for roughly $700,000. If you want that something a little bit less than that, like in the 600s, you definitely could find it. Those are going to be more in the early 90s homes. Those ones are going to be roughly, just under 2,000 square feet. But on average, I would say it's going to be about $750,000 and then well into the millions, like all the other ones as well. But there is probably 5 or 6 builders out here that are actively building. and they're popping them out like crazy. So if you want a new home at a great price, and a lot of them are giving away a bunch of stuff, new builds is where it's going to be as far as that is concerned. There's just a lot of things that Erie has to offer, and I highly recommend coming out here and checking it out, because it's like a little secret that most people, well, the secret's getting out, but most people don't know about, and you could get a lot more for your money here in Erie than you would, say, Lafayette, Louisville, or definitely Boulder. All right, in the fifth area I highly recommend checking out is going to be Windsor. Now, Windsor is going to be the farthest north that I'm going to be talking about. It is roughly about an hour away from Denver, straight north, right on I-25, just straight up. And it's a small little town that's growing like crazy, just like Erie is. And that's why I want to mention it, is because it's absolutely gorgeous. And it's, like I said, Windsor, it's 26 square miles, and the population is roughly about 44,000 people. So it is definitely growing. Now, the reason I want to mention Windsor is because of its growth. And if you're somebody who wants to invest in something at its low end and watch it go like crazy, Windsor is going to be where it's at. Now, in Colorado, there's really not a whole other areas for growth to happen, right? So for the most part, all of our growth is now happening east or north, and Windsor is going to be north. And so on average right now, you could get a house out there roughly in the 600s, but watch it grow because people are flocking there. Now, the reason I love Windsor so much is because it still has a small town feel, like Erie, like Parker, but it has lakes. And so, I mean, Colorado, honestly, we don't have a whole lot of lakes. So the fact that this has a lake, and their whole downtown area is kind of, you know, catered to this like lake, Windsor Lake, and you have the boardwalk area, which is where they have their events, their concerts in the park, they have movies in the park, food trucks, all of that stuff. It is right there on the boardwalk where they have this lake, and there's you have volleyball, beach volleyball, things like that is all going to be right there. Now, the downtown area, it's cool, but it's still a little lacking. It's not as, you know, cool yet as maybe Erie or Parker, but it is still, it's going to get there. Like, honestly, it's going to get there. It still has like a few restaurants, ice cream shop, coffee shop, things like that. And then the communities around that are being built are phenomenal. One of my most favorite ones is Rain Dance. And Rain Dance, I mean, you could grow your own crops. Like, it's really cool out there. Rain Dance is amazing. They do have several golf courses out there. I believe they have 3 golf courses in Windsor. So if you're a golfer, that's amazing. They have 65 acres, yeah, a preserved space out there that you could just, you know, it's open land. You could just go out and, you know, walk around, hike, fish, all of that good stuff. So, I mean, Windsor is growing. And what's so great about Windsor is that depending on where you work, Windsor is going to be super close to Loveland. I would say it's about 25 minutes to Loveland, maybe not even, depending on what part of Windsor you're in. But it's really close to Fort Collins as well. So if you work in Fort Collins, or you actually just want to visit Fort Collins, because honestly, Fort Collins is kind of badass. I love Fort Collins. So Fort Collins is going to be roughly 15 minutes, you know? So depending on where you're at, Windsor is going to be a great location. And I promise you, it'll grow. You will be building equity if you move to Windsor. Windsor's a school district is going to be, I believe it's St. Vrain. I could be wrong, or I believe it's St. Vrain. Either way, it's ranked roughly maybe 5 or 6 according to niche.com. Definitely look into that. I apologize, I don't have that written down, but I want to say maybe it's St. Vrain. Parts of it, it's going to be St. Vrain. So I mean, yeah, school districts, look into that. Make sure, you know, everything's all up to par for you. But those are my top 5 that I highly consider you looking into. I love all of these areas. I work in all of these areas, and you guys reach out to me about these areas all the time. Please reach out to me anytime if you would like additional information. Remember to click that subscribe button right there. That way you are notified every time I have a new video. And then to the next video, take care.